Alright, so this video we're gonna break down Aries to give like a holistic understanding of the components of everything in it that makes Aries Aries. So first off, we're dealing with the first house. Aries was born out of the first house. This is why it's considered the first zodiac out of the 12 zodiacs. So the first house, we're dealing with your personality, your personal interests, your your the personal places that you like to go to, everything that's personal to you. This is your personal issues, your everything that you consider yourself, or what you hold to yourself, that's kind of what the first house represents. So then look at its ruling planet, Mars. So Mars rules Aries. Mars is dealing with your passions, desires, and your willpower, intent. What drives you to go and act and shit like that. The things that you want in life. The things you want to accomplish, goals. Desires, all of that. So then when you look at your first house and the ruling planet of Mars, these things go hand in hand. So your personal issues have to do with the things that you want and your desires and your passions. And personal issues may come from you being too aggressive. Mars, it's you know, the Romans call it the god of war, but that's the attribute of the planet, it's aggressive, it's assertive, because it desires and passions, it sees, what it wants, so that's how it acts out. But it's more of an individualistic manner with Aries. They desire it's coming from within. It's coming from the personal things that they want, for themselves. So, and then you go into the sun is exalted here. So this is what gives the Aries. Well, when you're saying exalted, okay, so if the ruling planet of Aries is Mars, that's when Mars is in its comfort zone. That's where it's where it wants to be. This is where it's at, it's chilling, it's comfortable there. But it's ruling planet. That's its house. But when the sun is in Aries, it's exalted. You ever get look at it like going to your cousin's house, or going to your best friend's house, like when you're younger and you're going to a sleepover, and you knew their mom was cooking some shit that your mom just wasn't gonna cook up, you just know, damn, Mrs. Robinson, she be walking around in them tight shorts, her mac and cheese be smacking, I can't wait to go to Tommy's house. I can't wait to go to Tommy's house. You know them friends, you know those ones where you're like, damn, I can't wait, we eat good. I'm tired of ramen noodles. But yeah, but yeah, basically, so the sun is like that. It's exalted when it's in Aries. So it feels, it gets an extra boost, and your sun is what you pay attention to, your actions, your your sense of self, really. And when it's exalted, you can also have the opportunity to overexhaust yourself. So if you look at how that plays out in Aries, this is how Aries can sometimes be a little too selfish, or self-absorbed, or why they have a lot of energy and why they're so action-based, because of the sun is exalted here, and Aries is very action-oriented, and they take action based upon their desires and passions, and all of that shit comes from within, if you get what I mean. And that takes us to fire. Because with the if I were to say you'll understand what I'm saying once I finish explaining. But if I were to say yin yin and yin yang, you'd probably get confused. But it's ultimately the same thing, but just breaking it down using two different set of words to really drive home the meaning. So you have your right and left brain, right? I think I talked about this in another video, but you have a right. I'll probably make another video on it and shit like that. But for this purpose, you know. So you have a right and left brain, right? Right brain is the more creative side, the intuitive side, the what's on the inside, and what you want to express and how you feel and all of that. And your left brain is more of the analytical, the hard thoughts, the practical side of it. I want to break down and analyze these things and make sense of things, add meaning, make sense of things. Right brain, left brain. So the elements fall within that too. So you would say that fire, the element that Aries is yang, right brain, because it takes in what's on the inside, your imaginations, your passions, your desires, the things you want, the things that aren't physical or in real life, that all of your right brain shit and pushes it out, and expresses it. It pushes it out. So this is how why Aries is so expressive, and why they're always so all about their passions and what they want to accomplish and their goals, why they're so forceful and forceful, assertive, give and take. There's different types of Aries, there's different types of natal alignments too for them to be for things to go hand in hand. But Venus opposes or Venus is away in Aries. So this is what makes it. And when a planet is away, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're missing the attributes of it. It means that it brings more attention to it, really, because that's what's working against you, as an Aries, that'll probably be one of your challenges, relating to people, because of, look at all of the attributes of it, with the sun being exalted and all of that, being passion, will based, being on your personal life and you and pushing what's on the inside and out. Not everybody can see your visions. Not everybody can see what's on the inside. So when you're trying to push that out, not everybody's going to relate to that. There's some people and some signs that relate to other things, or more, if you look out on a society scale, that's why they will look at an Aries as weird or eccentric, or what I often say, oh, that's too much, because um, operating around different barriers and boundaries, and that leads to what follows here. And when a planet falls in a sign, um, it's not that same thing. It's not the same thing, but let's say that it's sleeping, that it's not fully aware of what it's doing. So it could be going right. It could be, overexhausting itself. It could be just be chilling, or it can be going against itself, or it can be, completely absent. It could be all over the place. There's not really too much. Um, it doesn't know what it's doing, the planet, if you get what I mean. And this is why Saturn, what represents, I didn't even break down what Venus is, but I talked about, relating to people. But Venus is all things, is love and beauty, and all things, yeah, and all things nice and bountiful, and also relating to people, love, it's all about that stuff. So that's why it may even be hard for an Aries to just be with someone else, unless they vibe on the same frequency, unless they resonate with the passions and stuff that that person, that Aries is pushing out themselves or expressing, then they can get with it. But it's going to be really hard if they don't. But yeah, back to Saturn. When it's sleeping, it falls in Aries. Saturn is establishing boundaries and restrictions. Saturn is reality, basically. It's the constraints within reality. Saturn's the matrix. That's the matrix. It's Saturn. So that falls in Aries. So it's hard to get stability often, or what they look unrealistic, to people, because as I said, not everybody can see your imaginations and your desires and stuff like that. So you'd be pulling from higher places because, the stars are fire, or it's actually water. But if you were to look at, because once you get outside of this earth spectrum, once you get outside, when you're in the spirit realm, or when you're in the esoteric realm, fire and water happen simultaneously, or those reactions are more simultaneous, and air and earth was more within the constraints of air, but that's why the Egyptians are more in the constraints of on earth, or on this planet. That's why the ancient Egyptians would call it what, the waters of Anubis. That's why they drew it as water. That's why the niggas is, well, they have boats too, but a lot of the times they're talking about space travel, but it looks like water. They're representing it and talk about it as water, because water is basically a space that you can hold, and or yeah, space that you can occupy. But for there to be a space to occupy, you have to have the vision. You have to project. You have to see it, and then you can go into that reality that you see. The projecting and seeing what's on the inside. That would be the fire. So, but that would be happening simultaneously, because it's, imagine it like opening up a portal and jumping in it. That's what's be happening that's fire and water dancing in the esoteric realm. But when you get to here, you know, um, people be be forgetting that, or not understanding that they're one of the same thing. Basically, that's basically what I'm getting at. But Aries is also a cardinal sign. It's cardinal fire. That's its modality. So it being cardinal means that it initiates new ways of seeing and feeling things, because it's fire, because it's cardinal fire. So that's why you'll see some Aries be doing some next shit, or some shit that you never seen before, because they're drawing from the inner place of a place that you can't see, and initiating it, starting it. They want to see these things to come in life. They want these things, so they're bringing things. That's why you know you'll get some naivety, some from Aries, while you'll get some aggressiveness or assertiveness, because they're trying to see things. And that's why you'll get more, because there's different types of Aries, right? But say you'll get more of the immature Aries. They'll be, or even immature. It depends on how you do it, right? But they'll press for things, because they don't like things that are behind closed doors. Like um their opposite planet, Scorpio. Well, not their opposite, but their brother sister of Mars, because Mars is the ruling planet of Scorpio. Scorpio, it's all of the interior, the eighth house. What's on the inside and what's hidden. Aries being on the other side of that, it's putting that out. And Aries is honest. They're putting out the interiors, so they be probing that for other. That's what they want to see from other people too, and that's what makes them hard, because they can't chat and be all cordial, like say an air sign like Libra or some shit like that, where it'll be more accepting, or more shoot the shit. And Aries wants to see what's real, wants to see what's behind it, what's your fire, what's your image and shit like that, because then they can see if you resonate with them. If you don't, that's where you'll get some of the lone wolf type Aries. But there's uh uh it all depends on other natal alignments and shit like that. And then you can get deep into more Eastern astrology, where you look at Eastern or Vedic astrology. When you look at astrology from a higher spectrum, from where the scope is much greater, you would say that Aries is backed and supported by the Pisces energy. That's why you would get some Vedic astrologers saying, if you're born in Aries, or replacing Aries with Pisces, or where you get sidereal, where they try and go and progress, but that's because they're looking from a higher astrological clock. From here on Earth, how it plays out is Pisces energy being backing and supporting, or Aries energy, because it's closer, it's on the smaller clock, Western astrology, more practical, than the higher, or more everyday, more, more of the tool than the higher clock of the what do you call it, Vedic. Yeah, than the higher clock of the Vedic. We're looking at Western. Oh fuck! I lost my train of thought. Fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah, and being backed and supported by being backed and supported by Pisces energy, right? So when you look up from the higher astrological clock and it comes down, it's Pisces going into Aries. And I'll make other videos explaining the difference between Western and Eastern astrology. So just keep watching my videos. But yeah, this was Aries. Peace out.